I'm Marty Sakata, founder of Resilient Alpha. Why do some funds and managers crush it and others crash? We're cracking that code, redefining alpha, and bringing top brains to unpack asset classes and hot alpha ideas. We're going full throttle. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Today's guest is Samy Dwek, the founder and CEO of the Family Office Doctor. He helps wealthy families build smart plans for their money and legacy. Before that, he led family office services at JP Morgan Private Bank in Europe and the Middle East. He also managed key teams in emerging markets and built strong client ties in Turkey and Israel. Samy started his career as a trader in fixed income and foreign exchange in London. He holds a business degree from the European Business School with studies in English, French, and Italian. Fluent in those languages, he lives in Delray Beach, Florida, with his wife and 3 kids. Samy gives back through boards at Boca Raton Regional Hospital and the Miami-Dubai Chamber of Commerce. He loves impact investing, philanthropy, and guiding families to tough choices with grace. Welcome aboard, Samy. The content here is for informational purposes only. Should not be taken as legal, business, tax, or investment advice, or be used to evaluate any investment or security, and is not directed at any investors or potential investors in any featured fund or deals on this video.
Welcome to today's episode of Resilient Alpha, where we dive into the minds of visionaries shaping the future of wealth, leadership, and global impact. Today, I'm thrilled to have with us Samy Dwek, a major force in the family office space and a trailblazer in fostering cross-cultural business relationships between families and governments. Founder and CEO of the Family Office Doctor, he brings decades of experience from his time as a managing director at JP Morgan, where he spearheaded innovative solutions for families across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Today, he's based in Delray Beach in Florida, where he's very engaged in community activities and philanthropy. He serves on charitable boards and drives economic collaboration through his work with the Miami Chamber of Commerce, Dubai. Today, we're looking forward to exploring his forward-looking vision for family offices, money management, and conflict resolution. Let's get started.
I'm ready to go.
Samy, it's great to have you here. Tell us a little bit about Family Office Doctor and what led you to founding that business.
Yeah, so we were discussing this yesterday. So I grew up in a family business. My wife grew up in a family business. I've only been surrounded by people in family businesses. And what was always apparent, no matter who you are, what family you're with, all families have some form of dysfunction. But the minute you're in a family business, it amplifies. Wealth amplifies the issues. And everyone thinks, wow, they're so lucky, they're so fortunate, and they live in this ivory tower. But it's not an ivory tower, it's an ivory prison.
Can be.
It mostly is. And so I spent a lot of time in the financial world, traveling to many different countries, exposed to many different cultures. And take the cultural element out of it, and you look at what's going on with families and family offices, and the problems are more or less constant. And it's a lot of communication.
Even across cultures.
So there's going to be cultural influence, but the underlying issues emanate from communication or lack of communication. Transparency on planning is a very critical theme. They're scared, well, if I tell my kids too much, what if they know how much money is coming? And when do I get them involved in the business? And when do I show them? And there's never really a right time. And it can always be the wrong time.
I think it depends on the kid, though, right? Or the next gen.
And that's the thing. Exactly that. It all depends on the kid, because you've got to look at each one individually. Like, where are they in their personal evolution? But here's the problem. If you have one kid, honestly, life is easier because you can then decide and determine when you tell that kid. But the minute you tell one, do you really truly believe that sibling is not going to go to their siblings and say, hey, did you know how much we have? Do you know how much we're worth? And that in itself presents a whole different issue. But then there's another issue that people forget. And I write about this, and I'm very passionate about this. So everyone wants to treat their kids the same. All right, please, you can't treat your kids the same because they're not the same. It's impossible. That's one. Two, kids need to have the realization that there is no real manual for how do you bring up a kid. All right.
My father used to say that he had parented us all differently.
And he did.
And we had personalities from when we came out. He sort of figured out what they were going to be. And we all needed a little something different. And I think that's hard for a lot of patriarchs or matriarchs.
Well, let me put it this way. So how many siblings were you?
4 from 2 marriages.
Okay. So understand, even if you have the same genetic parents, each one of you had separate parents, right? The parental experience changes on every child because of experience and where they are in their lives. So I have 2 siblings. I'm the middle one, all right? My elder sister had a completely different set of parents than I did because they made their mistakes on her. Very unfortunate for her.
She's also a girl, and I have a feeling that your parents parented a girl differently, no?
Yes, there's that cultural element, but I can show you with the family I'm working with, 3 boys. Eldest boy had all the pressure on him, all the mistakes are done on him. He's the one that does the first of everything. First to go to school, first to walk, first to get a job, first to go to college. It's a first for everything, and they're making their mistakes on him. Second one, okay, I know a little bit more. I know what I'm doing. Maybe second one comes along, I'm at a different stage in life. Third one comes along, and look at any parent. Third one gets away with murder. Everyone jokes about
Parents
the youngest.
Are tired.
No, they're less frenetic. They're less nervous about it. Oh, they put their hand in the mud. Fuck it. Let them stay with their hand in the mud. It doesn't matter. But when it's the first one, you clean them and you're so manic. So it's a different parental experience. Then overlay, they're all different. They're not the same. So you can't treat them the same. They have different needs and different requirements. So you didn't treat me the same. You're right. I didn't, because you're not the same. And if I treated you the same, then I wasn't fair to you. I have to treat you what's right. So I think we all, as human beings, make that mistake. We have this expectation of fair and equal treatment. And I think it's a baloney statement, right? It's not about equal. It's about what you need. And it's no different than managing people. You go into a company, you look at a good manager, he looks at each of his employees and he doesn't measure them against himself. He measures them against themselves. What's your 100%? Are you giving your 100%? Now, if I expect someone to do my 100%, that's an unfair bar, right? They're going to fail. Like, many will fail and many will supersede because they're better than you, right? I want to be surrounded by the best people, but even if I can't find only the best people, I guarantee you I can get the best out of everyone. And that's more important to me than just having the best people, because everyone brings something to the table. So get the best out of them. And that's the job. That comes through communication.
And that brings up an interesting point when you're working with families, because they are so different. And you also work across borders.
Yes.
And you bring, I think, an element of an advantage to that, in that you speak a number of languages and you've lived in a number of different countries. And so you have that cultural perspective. So just like each child is different, each family is different, and every American family is different, but cross borders, it becomes more complicated.
So let's take the Middle East, because I do a lot of work in the Middle East, and I sit on 2 different chambers of commerce, one for Dubai and one for Saudi. I grew up in a Middle Eastern household, and you're right. Boys were treated differently than girls. My sister was older than me, but my father would look to me on, should my sister go to a party, and you have to chaperone her. And she's older than me, and I had to chaperone her. It was horrible. Horrible for her. By the way, equally horrible for me. There were certain expectations. The boy is going to go to the business. The girl won't go to the business. In the Middle East, the eldest son takes control. Once you're the second or third son, you don't count. Eldest brother. I met a family where it was twins. So you're talking like, 20 minutes, an hour between the 2 kids?
Could be 2.
And the eldest one determines everything in the family. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're the smartest. Just you're the eldest. That was your birthright. That's it. You could destroy a business. And so you've got to take that into consideration. You can't come like a bull in a china shop and say, culture's unimportant here. We're going to do it my way. No, you need to be sensitive to their upbringing and understand those values. There's a way to do business in the Middle East. There's a way that you communicate. I sat with a Middle Eastern family not too long ago, and even though I asked for the wife to be in the room when I'm trying to map out the personalities in the family, the father is diminishing the wife because she doesn't have as much importance in that cultural environment. And he's not doing it in a bad way. And outside will go, oh, how horrible. This is cultural, and you need to understand it. And you need to take it into consideration, and you need to balance those things. And so, yes, having an understanding of different cultures and mannerisms and understanding how they communicate. I did business in Turkey for a lot of time. And what I learned is Turks never get upset. They just never call you back.
Yeah.
Right? You had to read between the lines.
I had that happen with a Turkish boyfriend once.
There you go. You read between the lines. They're not going to say, oh, that was insulting. You see the way that they answer you. You have to intimate it and make sure that you head it off earlier or else. So yes, cultural understanding is really important. And not because everyone lives in America or England or France that changes anything, because we're a global world. People come from everywhere. So,
much more so every day.
Right. So to say, oh, they're American. Yeah. I deal with American families where the parents are immigrants. And so they still have that culture that is important to them. And now we have a problem because now we have a clash of cultures between the kids and the parents. And the kids will go, yes, I have that culture, but only when it suits them. Right? It's like, yeah, well, that makes it a little bit more complicated because now you've got the parents clashing with the kids because they're not culturally aligned, even though they've been brought up by their parents.
So let's touch for a second on, I'm a family.
Mm-hmm.
I have a complicated situation. Let's say I have 3 children.
Yep.
And somebody says you need the family office doctor.
Yep.
What does that mean?
So I'm very proud of the way I've built my business. And I learned something very important. I felt myself an entrepreneur at JP Morgan, but I had the JP Morgan kind of support system around me. Very different when you go on your own. And as an entrepreneur,
support and constraints.
Support and constraints, yes, agreed. And I had to learn to be flexible. So my offering to clients is flexible. It's what do you need? I don't go and dictate what they need. They're going to come to me and we're going to map out what the issues are and what is the best approach. So every approach is made to measure for each family. And when I look at all the different families I'm working with, the things that I do, there are some overlaps, but very different, very, very different. Some have mental health issues that I have to deal with, and they can be very complex, including, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, I had one client where a child has had suicidal tendencies where I had to walk her off a ledge, literally, and deal with institutionalizing and what you do, and you do guardianships, and how do you put the right controls around to protect them to stop that happening again. That's very complicated, and very few people want to get involved in that. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I don't pretend to be. With other families, it's a lack of governance and communication. And you'll see something very consistent in everything I do. It's all about communication.
Do you say to a family that comes to you, though, I'll work with you, but you're going to have to listen to me?
No, I say something very different. I'll listen to what they believe the issues are, and then I will be very provocative and say things they really don't want to hear. And I'll say, so for example, family in Tennessee, issue with son-in-law who's heading the family office. And I said, if I tell you you have to fire your son-in-law, will you do it? Before the engagement. And had they said, no, absolutely not, it'll hurt my relationship with my daughter, then I can't help you. I'm not saying that that's the answer, but what if?
Right.
So I start with the what if. If this situation comes up, because I want to hold them to it later, right? If this situation comes up, can you pull the trigger? Because if you can't, I'm not here to just pillage people. I'm there to help. It's very important. I want to help people. Don't waste your money and don't waste my time. Let me help someone else who wants the assistance. A solution is not always a good result. Okay? It's a solution. And there are multiple solutions. I had a situation with a family where father and son is in his 50s, 60s. They can't communicate. They're not getting on. Dad made the money. Son has made some money, but dad made a lot of money. And he felt that his parents were trying to ruin his marriage and break him up from his wife and child. And I had to have the conversation. Are you willing to give up the money to keep your family? Right? So there's 2 ways to go. You lose your family, you lose part of the money, right? The rest of the money will come to his son after his parents' death. He'll never see it, which is fine. And some of it will never get there, which is fine. But you've got to make that decision. Is that good for the overall family? No. Is it good for his nucleus, i.e. him, his wife, and his child? Absolutely yes. Not all solutions are good solutions overall, but it's a solution. Right? So you've got to work towards what is the best solution for the context. And it's very hard, right? I hear lawyers always give, oh, well, this is the best legal solution. Yes, but is it good for a family?
Right. Very different. And following along those lines, you've watched the family office space evolve over a long period of time. I mean, I would argue that 25 or 30 years ago, we didn't talk about family offices. They existed, but it wasn't the convention that we think of it today, where there's conferences focused on family offices and, meetings focused on family offices. People are talking about, how should I structure my family office? So it's evolved. It's become more institutionalized. How do you see that going forward from where we are today? In 10 years, what does the family office look like versus what it looks like today?
So I'm going to take part of your question. I'm going to push back. It's not institutionalized. I think it's more known. We have more events. We speak more about it. There's more discussions. But it's interesting. A lot of family offices are still very small. They're 3-6 people managing billions of dollars and dealing with very large, complex families, and they're very short on time. And it's not institutionalized. There's a lack of institutionalization, and they need to be professionalized. So I think part of the evolution is professionalization.
I think part of what I was saying is, in terms of institutionalization, back in the day, you might have hired an accountant.
Correct. And they still
worked with you as your liaison to different money managers and different things. Today, people do have actual offices with 3 to 6 people. May not be 25 people running billions of dollars. Maybe it's a smaller grouping, but it used to be just, oh, my accountant handles that for me.
Right. So that I call a gatekeeper. Right. So there's different types of ways to define family office. Gatekeeper versus family office. But many family offices still start with the impetus of my lawyer or my accountant or my ex-banker.
I guess my point is, where do you see it in 10 years?
So I think we've got some big challenges ahead, right? You've got the generational shift, the handover, and everyone's focusing on it in terms of the actual family members. No one's talking about it from the state of the family office. So when my CIO, CEO, or whoever started it retires, who replaces them? And no one's thought about that. That's a big issue. I think technology is still up for grabs. AI is going to revolutionize family offices in that if I've got 2 people doing investments, I can now do a synopsis of an offering memorandum or a fund fact sheet and do an analysis of one versus the other, which takes out the risk of hallucination and cannibalization, and focus on, okay, what are the differences between these 2 or 3 products? And so we're still only at the baby steps of AI. We haven't even started that whole evolution. That's going to make them a lot more efficient, that they'll have more free time to do other things. I think that's fantastic. I think that has
more
to be
efficient to a sense. I think families in particular have to be careful about relying on it because it can be very wrong.
Hence, I that's why I intimated hallucination and cannibalization. So yes, you still need to double check, but you're going faster. You're speeding up the process.
Yes.
I think in 10 years' time, a lot of the generational shift will have happened. And so
these next gens are coming from a place of having lived with technology their whole lives, and they're much more...
Baby boomers will have phased out, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, but they will have phased out. And so you'll have this new generation in charge. And yes, very different education, very different state of affairs because of technology, which even our generation, I mean, when I was a kid, I had a ZX Spectrum. It was a keyboard you'd plug into the TV, and I started building games with my friends, right? I started as a child building programs. In banking, I started on a trading desk building programs to arbitrage the bond markets, right? So I grew up with computers. My father's generation did not grow up with computers.
When my father retired, they didn't have a fax machine. And when I started on a trading desk, I'm a little bit ahead of you coming into this business, we still had to go to the news tape that was rolling on a paper reel, pull the paper reel, cut the article we wanted, tape the paper reel back together so that it would keep going to get the news that we wanted.
Right.
Whereas now I could get it right here, sitting with you, filming this podcast. So it's very, very different.
It's very different. And it'll be even more different in 10 years' time, where we need to still work and where we still fail. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is fixing the communication gap. And actually, communication has gotten worse, not better.
And I think that's true, because people are on their phones all the time, or
it's more than that. There's this whole new philosophy of safe space and everything else, which is actually killing the art of conversation. I actually wrote a paper about the art of conversation, and it stemmed from, at one point, one of my kids turning around to me and goes, "Oh, I'm offended," and I go, "Good, be offended. Let's discuss." Right? Tell me I'm wrong. Prove me I'm wrong. I'm okay to be wrong. I'll admit I'm wrong. Okay? But let's at least have the conversation. But same token, if I show you you're wrong, you need to also admit I was right, not because I want to be right. And by the way, we could be both wrong and we both could be right, but you need to have that conversation. So actually, yes, head in the screen, but this business of safe space, no. Please have the conversation.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I have that conversation with my teenage daughter all the time. She'll say, "I don't believe in X,"
right,
or "I don't like Y."
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, "Okay, that's fine. I like Y. You don't like Y, but tell me why you don't like Y."
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't understand your perspective if you're not discussing it with me.
There you go.
And I think kids today also, and again, I see this with my teenage daughter, she will be at home with a friend in our home.
Each one
they
on
will
their
be
phone?
texting each other.
Yeah.
No, they'll be texting each other. They're sitting next to each other, texting each other. I'm like, why? You guys should be talking to each other. This is crazy.
I want to get people back to conversation. I want to get people back to writing handwritten notes.
Yes.
Simple things, a touch point that make it personal.
Well, and the understanding that communication in a digital form also can be misinterpreted.
Oh, totally.
And this is something that kids don't understand in the way that I would like. I mean, again, my teenage daughter had a situation with a friend, and she said, "But I didn't write anything badly." And I said, "Let me give you an example. If I say, 'Sam, that's a jacket,' or I say, 'Sammy, now that's a jacket,' my intonation is completely different.
100%.
And therefore, but the way I've said it in my head when I text it to you or email it to you may be completely differently than the way you receive it."
So here's one for your daughter, okay? When she writes an email,
I tell her to read it out loud.
Don't send it. Save it to draft. Come back half an hour later. And now when you open it, read it and pretend you're the person receiving it. Make changes.
Yep.
Don't send it.
Great advice.
Don't send it.
Great advice.
Go back. Wait another day. By the way, the biggest mistake people make is when they send an email and they're angry and what they say can't be taken back. That's indelible ink.
It's a bell you can't unring.
Right? Just don't send it angry. Go back and read it from their perspective. Knowing
Never
how
send
angry
anything you don't want on the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
That's also a good one. But I actually wrote a paper about sometimes being old-fashioned is good for so many different reasons. Like, pick up the phone, have a conversation, because an email can be so ambiguous. I can read it any which way you want and make it say something it doesn't say. It's so easy. But being old-fashioned is not necessarily bad. That's why we have so many frauds. People send an email. "Oh, send money. Oh, I've just been taken." No, pick up the phone and call them. Did they really send you that email? Was it really from them? Like, being told you're old-fashioned and it's bad is wrong. There are some merits to it. Let's discuss it. Again, conversation, communication, and this communication of everything by email. I hate email. Like, I get bombarded by people trying to sell me product, and they'll completely not know who I am and say, "Oh, you're doing this, that, and the other." It's like, no, I'm not. Like, where'd you get that from?
Right.
Like, you don't know me. Like, start with a conversation.
The flip side of that, though, in defense of the people who are trying to sell things, people don't pick up the phone anymore either.
But that's my point. Like, at least have a conversation. Who are you? And is this right for you? And by the way, you're wasting your time if I'm the wrong guy.
Of course.
And you're burning bridges.
But going back to
Please.
family offices,
Yes,
because I want to stay on point.
Mm-hmm.
If a family office comes to you, they've just had a big liquidity event. They've sold the family business, and they're going to set up a family office. What do you walk them through? What are key pillars that people should put in place to have a family office that can be resilient and have longevity?
Oh, let's start with the fact that just because you have money doesn't mean you need a family office. I came across a family, because I'm so happy you brought this up. They're in Central America, cashed out their business $1 billion, right? After tax, $1 billion.
A good day.
It's a very good day. No, actually, it was a bad day because Dad built the business and died a week before the cash out. So he never got to see the benefits of his work, which was very sad. I mean, very nice for the family, but very sad. And the family leader, in Dad's absence, I want a family office. Like, why do you want a family office? What do you want to do with the money? Okay?
Sounds important.
Sounds sexy, because it's become like, well, I have the car, I have the boat, I have the plane, I have the family office. No. So in their case, they didn't need a family. I actually told them, don't build a family office. It's a waste of time. So why do you want a family office? What's the purpose? What do you want them to do? How are you going to invest the money if this is what you're going to do? Are you going to distribute it to the family members? So they wanted to keep the money together as a corpus to keep the family together. Fine, as long as you're not imprisoning your siblings, right? If you're dictating, you're going to fight. Then that defeats the object. So how are you building it? How are you collaborating? In their case, they were going to put 80% in fixed income. Okay, you don't need a family office for that. You need 1 or 2 banks. He wanted to give a job to his son and 2 of his nephews. And it's like, okay, what are they going to do? Sit there and twiddle their thumbs. And so what we decided was, in their specific case, they did not need a family office. They needed a kind of board of directors that when they had investment decisions to make, like buying a new business, investing in a company, whatever it is, that they could get those very tailored expertise and pay for their time. It will cost them less than a family office. They will get better benefit from it, and it will be more resilient than having a family office spending a ton of money and accomplishing zero. So just because you had a big cash out and you have a lot of money in the bank doesn't mean you need a family office. So first thing, before you jump into that, is, what is my purpose? What am I trying to achieve? And is that what I need? And do I realize the expertise and the expense and the infrastructure I need? Right? You're talking a minimum $3-4 million for a good family office, right? I'm of the view that if it's going to cost you that much, then it shouldn't cost more than 25 to 30 basis points in terms of management fees. You still need to outperform the markets. You want as little drag as possible. So, okay, if it's 30 basis points, how much money do I need to have to warrant a single family office? Right? Work it out backwards.
Although you could argue, if he wanted to employ his nephew and his son, he's willing to spend that money.
But you can pay them. Pay them. You're going to give them distributions anyway. But at the same time, I want the family, the young kids, go out and be productive. Don't take away their fire. What if they're the next Steve Jobs? The biggest problem with wealth is the kids see it and go, I don't need to do anything. I'm set. Like, no.
Well, that comes from the parents too, in terms of what the expectations are.
It's a bit of everything. Parents expect their kids to do things, but then they give them everything and don't realize that they're hurting them, and the kids take advantage.
I think that's really true. I mean, look, I've told this story before, but the day I graduated from college, my father shook my hand, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Don't call home for advice. Don't call collect." For those of you who remember what calling collect is, there's probably a lot of people listening who don't, but don't call collect, and don't call for money. And when I was about 30 years old, maybe a little bit older, and I had done well for myself, and I think I had bought myself a fancy handbag. And I remember my father sitting me down and saying, "I want to talk to you about something. Remember when I shook your hand and kissed you on the cheek and told you you were going out into the world better prepared than most? You didn't have debt. You had traveled all over the world. And then I took it all away from you." He said, "Do you realize it would have been easier for me to write the checks? But my job as a parent was to know that if I died tomorrow and all the money was gone, that you could stand on your own 2 feet.
100%.
That was my job." And
100%.
so you thought I was mean, but I was just doing my job.
Right.
And so transitioning to that, it's probably the easiest place for you to operate if you have maybe the first next gen, or you're dealing with the patriarch. And if you're dealing with an elderly patriarch, you mentioned a 60-year-old next gen, they're your peer. When you're dealing with a next gen, college age, 20s,
Perfect.
how do you navigate that, right? Because Some of them are going to look at you and say, oh God, you're my dad's age, or you're my grandpa's age, or I'm not going to listen to you. You don't understand, right? It's like my teenager says, I know nothing. Someday maybe she'll figure out I know something. I mean, and I remember being that way. How do you deal with the next gen that's a generation behind you, let's say?
So I'm actually doing that with a couple of families at the moment where the kids are between ages, let's call it 8 and 23, 24. Different families. One family actually called me up and said, well, I want you to help my 21-year-old understand money, because at some point he's the eldest. He may lead the family or the family office. So he needs to understand. So my first thing is to connect to that 21-year-old. And the first thing is to go in.
And it's hard, right? When you have a kid that's just, had a credit card or had Apple Pay and, oh, it's only $80. Well, do you understand you need to make $160 to get $80? And how do you make the $160?
So the first thing you need to do in encountering a situation like that is to go in with humility. Not, I know better, you don't know, I'm older than you. That's never going to work. You got to connect. Got to find things.
Got to give them agency.
Absolutely. And you need to show that you're willing to listen to them. You have to listen to them. It's not that I'm right, you're wrong. Okay? It's, how can I be of assistance to you? Let me be your sounding board. Okay? Let me build rapport with you and let you know that I'm there to assist you. I'm there to help you. I'm not an agent of your parent. I'm an agent of the family. My job is to ensure that you as a family become cohesive and communicate. I'm here to help all of you. So if I'm just there doing the will of mum and dad, you failed before you started. We forget as parents, I'm guilty of it too with my own kids, and I try not to because of what I do. We assume things. So my assumption.
What they say about assuming.
Oh, yeah. With my kids, I try to give each one as much latitude as possible and support. I love them and I'm proud of them. Each one has different accomplishments. They're different. I'm going to call out one of my kids and she'll get very upset with me, but it's fine. My middle child is incredible. I go to the highest mountain and I'll scream about her because she's incredible. She works for Pixar. She makes the characters for the movies. She won a student Oscar at age 20. She was a finalist in the Cannes Film Festival, right? Like, holy fucking shit. Excuse my language. The new Pixar movie, Elio, the main character was created by her. She was responsible for all character creation in Elio, right?
Amazing.
Amazing. And we're sitting at home and she goes, you're disappointed in me. There you go. And my reaction was like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? Like, are you crazy? Like, where the hell did you get that from? And it was a tearful conversation and we had a long conversation. Again, communicating. Like, where did you get that from? Well, you don't like that I live in Oakland. Yeah, because I'm concerned for you. I'm your parent. My job is, I said, I'd be a horrible parent if I wasn't worried about you. Right? That's my job. Till the day I die, my responsibility is to care for you as long as I humanly can. Okay? That doesn't mean I'm disappointed. Ambiguity, misinterpretation, right? It's all about communication. So even with my own kids, I have those challenges. And so it's a matter of resetting and making sure we're talking the same language. You've got to connect with them at their level and understand their feelings. Don't decide what their feelings are. And that's the mistake we make as parents. We determine and decide in our head what the issues are. We don't ask. Ask, understand, deal with it, right? Each one of my kids is accomplished in their own field, right? My son is a psychologist. He's doing exceptionally well. My youngest one, she's my lunatic. She did her first degree when she was 16 in neuroscience, decided not to be a doctor because she wants to be able to be a mother. And she is now a step-down nurse in ICU, right? Like, she's incredible. They're all incredible in their own way. I love them all differently. I treat them each differently because they're different. But we can never make the assumption. And I use the same thing with every person I meet regardless of their age, is to know who they are, understand them, respect them, and listen to them. I sat with a parent and their child. I was getting to know the family. It was the beginning of an engagement. And we're sitting, understanding what are the family values? What's important to you as a family? What do you want your legacy to be? So the family in the room. And one of the children turns around and asks a simple question. What is an Ivy League school? And the parent replies, I'm so happy you want to go to an Ivy League school. I'm going to get you all the help you want. It's like, that's not what they asked. That's not what they said. Like truly
the parent
listen.
answered the question they wanted to hear.
There you go.
As opposed to the question that was asked.
And we all are guilty of that. We are all guilty of that, especially as parents, because we want certain things for our kids. We have certain expectations, but we have to know what are their expectations, what are their dreams. And so that's where I try to do this. I'm using my life experiences of learning to listen. Learning to listen is so hard because we mostly don't, right? We think we hear, we have selective hearing. We all are guilty, and you have to hone your skills to actually listen and not selectively listen, right? Cut out the noise in your head. Don't think about other things. Oh, I need to sell this. I want to talk about that. That's noise. You're now not listening. You make notes. You're not listening. You're making notes. You can't write and be listening. I'm sorry. I don't care how smart you are. You can't. You're going to miss something. You're going to miss the inference, the intent, all of it. So it's really important to learn to listen and block out the noise. And again, I think I'm pretty good at it, but I still have room for improvement. I don't think I'm perfect at it.
I think we always grow throughout our lives.
And if we don't, we should be dead. So that's the time when you don't learn. So, yeah, there's always room to grow. So when I'm dealing with the next geners, the people younger than me, I need to connect to them at their level. What's important to them? Don't come in with the parents' view. Don't come in and say, I know better, I have more experience, because that's what shuts them down. And they're right. Because we all remember being that age and we felt the same. We go through these stages of growth. When a kid is young, they're small, they literally look up to their parents, right? And then you get to the 20s when you've been to university and it's like, oh, my parents are perfect. Like, my parents make mistakes. Like,
well, you missed the teen years where they hate their parents and the parents know nothing.
I'm very grateful I didn't go through that with my kids, but that's probably because in the Middle East, we just don't put up with that kind of stuff. Right. So which is kind of a blessing because we just won't let them get away with it. But then you get to a point where you realize your parents aren't perfect, and then you kind of grow apart a little bit. And then you have kids and you go, oh my God, I became my dad or I became my mother. And that's something my mother would say. And you go, oh my God, how the hell did that happen? And we all have that epiphany. Everyone, I don't care who you are. People can say they didn't. It's just not true. Everyone does. And so it's part of the growing process. So as long as we recognize it and we can deal with it, we can have those conversations. And that's the goal.
So you brought up the Middle East,
yes, ma'am.
And your family background is Middle Eastern.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of investors, particularly in the West,
yep.
just to generalize,
yep.
the Middle East often feels opaque.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's misunderstood. Maybe people aren't asking the right questions, to your point. But you've done a lot of business there and you've done a lot of business with families there. What would you, in talking to our audience, tell people about the best way to do business in the Middle East? Because you are dealing often with family-owned businesses in the Middle East. You know, it's not the same as the way we've evolved here. How do these experiences inform your approach in advising people how to deal with and do business in the Middle East and invest? Yeah, so
that's part of the reason I got involved in the Chamber of Commerce for both Dubai and Saudi, is a total lack of cultural understanding. I would say a little bit both sides, but I'd say most going into the Middle East. So when I moved to the US 13 odd years ago, 12 years ago,
that's why you have an accent.
There we go. I had a culture shock. I went to my first meeting in the US and I walk in and there's not even niceties of, hi, how are you? Who are you? Tell me who you are. I was like, right to business. Okay. All right. Do that in the US, in the Middle East. And I guarantee you, they will never talk to you ever again. Ever.
They want to have tea for like 2 hours before anything is ever.
So there are protocols.
Other than social.
There are protocols. How you come in, how you sit down, how you present yourself, the intonation of your voice, not too loud. If you're too loud, that's very rude. It's crass. Okay. So you sit down, you don't cross your legs. God forbid they should see the bottom of your shoe. That's very insulting. So when you cross your legs, you cross it with your feet facing down, not
the royal cross. I think
the royal
that's called.
cross. If you cross it as a cross, now that's a Christian sign. It could be offensive to them. Like, it's little things. Here's another one. So you come to a Middle Eastern household, and let's say you come to my house and my mother offers you a biscuit. So they're immediately going to offer you something to eat and drink. You don't say thank you and yes immediately. That's rude. You say no. The first answer is no, really, I don't want to disturb you. I don't want to put you out. It's okay. Thank you very much. And they will insist because it's hospitality. Second time, maybe you can say no, but the third time, you dare and say no, you're now insulting them. You're rejecting their hospitality. It's an insult. I'll never forget going and doing business in Turkey, and I would do like 8 meetings a day. And no offense to my Turkish friends, Turkish coffee is very, very acidy. So I'd have Turkish coffee. Now, I grew up on Turkish coffee. I love Turkish coffee.
Me too.
Yeah, try and have 8 of those in a day. No. There you go. So I would go from coffee to coffee to coffee to coffee. And you can't say no. So yes, the protocol at the beginning is sitting down and having something to eat and talk about anything. Talk about family, the weather, the state of affairs, politics, and when they're ready, they open the business discussion, you don't.
So the takeaway is really being conscious as you're doing business cross borders and cross culturally. Understand before you go. We had another guest on the podcast who was talking about doing business in Thailand and always wearing a yellow tie because yellow is the color of respect. So understanding colors. In China, it's numbers.
It's red.
And numbers.
Red is lucky.
Right.
Right. So, when I was working at JP Morgan, I tell the story. I always blue suit, white shirt, right? Blue suit, white shirt. And I carry 3 ties. I'd carry a red tie, a blue tie, and a yellow tie. I'd have them in my bag, and dependent on the meeting, I would change my tie. This doesn't work in every culture, but in Europe, worked very well. Blue is power suits. You see politicians, you see bankers, blue power suit, okay? Blue tie, showing power. Red is aggressive. Means I'm coming in, I'm taking lead, I want to show my position. Put aside politics, American politics is different than red and blue, but generally speaking, red is aggressive, blue is power, yellow is submissive. I'm letting you take control. So yeah, colors are very important. Understanding the cultural implications, right? Green in the Middle East, it's Islam. You need to understand the importance of it. So, you look at South Africa, their flag, again, it's about the sea, the sun, the yellow, the land and everything else. It's all, the colors are important. It's reflective of who they are. So it's really important to go in with cultural understanding customs. I went to Serbia to do business. And at the beginning, you shake hands and you really have to go strong. And it's the one who's the longest, the strongest is going to take control of the meeting. You look in the eyes. It's very aggressive. Kazakhstan, again, I've been to all these crazy places. Very different. Again, you need to understand how you do businesses. What are the culture? What are the inferences? Like in like the CIS, showing emotion is not permissible. So what we try to do with the chamber is help people going both directions of understanding each other, of what are the other person's customs. There was a private equity company in Miami. They had this Asian group come in, and they came to me because they didn't understand why they walked out and got insulted. They took business cards and flung them across the table. Like, you don't, yes, the corners, and then you take it, you look at it, you look up at them, oh, very nice, thank you, very nice to meet you, and you put it down facing where they sit. Flinging it across the table is the biggest, it's like, I don't care, it's not important to me.
I think that's a really important thing for particularly US business people trying to do business in other regions to remember, because as Americans, for better or for worse, we tend to be a little colonial. And it's why you go almost any country else in the world, and people speak 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 languages. Something we do very badly in the United States in terms of our education system is having our kids learn other languages, be bilingual, to be more citizens of the world.
So
We've been a little isolationist, I think.
no, I'm going to actually disagree. So I think if you go to France or Italy or England and see in most regular schools, kids doing second languages, they're horrible. Okay, they really are. You're
But
talking
they all
about
end up speaking English.
no. A lot of French people, if they're not in the tourism industry, their English isn't great, or Italians. You can go around Italy and find a lot of people who can't speak English. I think, remember, Europe is different because it's a continent of multiple languages where they kind of mix with one another, so they kind of have to, and the Latin languages are similar, right? So Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, very, very similar. German's very different, very harsh language, very complicated language, even the construction of the sentences, you know, ich will ein Bratwurst gegessen, I will a sausage to eat, rather than I will eat a sausage. Turkish is the same kind of formation of the language. They do the same construction.
Grammar is very different.
Grammar is very different. America is very interesting. So it's an immigrant country, right? But what was interesting, being American was so important that they forced kids that you have to not know your heritage language and only learn English. They suppressed. So the Italian Americans, they suppressed the Italian. The parents wouldn't speak to their kids in Italian. No, you need to learn English.
I think that's true. I've heard that from second gens, that my mother came from Mexico but didn't want me to speak Spanish because,
Right. So there's a lot of that. So I think that's starting to change, though. I see a lot more people where they're speaking multiple languages. But when I look at the people I was with, we were all speaking multiple languages, but we were in the minority. We're not the majority. So when you're seeing these well-traveled people who come speaking multiple languages, we're not the majority of Europeans. We're a minority. I think everyone fails on that front, and we need to do better. So I don't think that's an American issue.
Okay. Sticking on the Middle East for a minute, too, because of your work with Dubai and Saudi, what areas do you see as the most interesting for cross-border collaborations between the U.S. and those regions?
All right. Well, look, and not political. When Trump came in, he negotiated very well with Saudi. They're going to put $1 billion into the U.S. economy. Okay, you go to Miami, and now you will see so many more Saudis walking around Miami than ever before. Like sea change. I never used to see Middle Easterners walking around. I mean, they're wearing suits. Don't get me wrong, but you can tell who they are.
People wear suits in Miami.
Okay, they're nicely dressed. Let's put it this way: they're nicely dressed, but they're not wearing Saudi garb.
Right.
When I look at Dubai and Miami, and the reason we built the chamber was because they are mirror images of each other, right? They're high octane cities. They are both trying to be crypto stroke blockchain centers, family office centers, financial centers. And so they kind of match one another, that if you want a form of diversification, you kind of want a foot in each place. And we're seeing a lot of family offices move to the UAE, but not really understand what they're doing. And there are benefits, if you're not American, that you don't pay any tax. Okay. So there's a lot of similarities. Saudi is slightly different. They're now trying to compete with UAE. They're trying to plan ahead that when the oil is over, that we have something else as a backup. They've got great resources. They've got great opportunity. And look, they've been investing abroad for years as a form of diversification. And you look at what MBS has done in Saudi, it's a different country from 10 years ago. He started with the re-Saudiization of the workforce. Then he started getting rid of the corruption, right? He imprisoned all his cousins and all the princes for the corruption, put his foot down, no more of that. Then it's emancipating the women. They can drive, they can get a job and everything. Like, he has made such amazing strides forward. Saudi is a very different country to the impression people have in their heads. And because they haven't gone, they don't know. But it's not at the same level as a UAE, but it's getting there. Okay? And so if you want to be at the beginning of that journey, that's why we're doing what we're doing. We want to be the entry point for either one of those via Miami. That doesn't mean you can't be somewhere else in the US, but we see bridging, like sister city type things. And I think there's a lot of complements between the two. And I think there's a lot of growth that's going to happen in the Middle East. There are areas of the world that are really untapped and untouched. And I think Africa and the Middle East are still way, way, way behind where they should be.
Oh, that's so interesting. I want to go back to the family office doctor for a minute and talk a little bit for a couple of minutes about what are the next big milestones for your business and how do you think about scalability?
Yeah, scalability.
You can't be all things to all people. Some families are going to rely on you more heavily than others. Some people are going to perhaps have you come in more strategically, parachute in, do something specific and parachute out. Some people are going to want to talk to you every day, once a week, something like that. How do you envision that in your head? I mean, what are your goals for growing your business? Because it seems to me, and I may have gotten this wrong, we've just gotten to know each other. We spent some time before taping this episode, but you're a guy, right? And you can't be, AI has not figured out how to replicate you.
I wouldn't want that from my kids.
And it's a very specific skill. So how do you think about your business going forward?
Yeah, so there are things that are scalable in my business and there are things that are less scalable. Okay, and it's a genuine concern. And so I like to know my competitors.
And who would they be?
So there's a guy in London, and if he ever hears this, he'll love me even more. He's an Italian gentleman, Marco Bassi, fantastic. Finding like-minded people, they don't have to be like me, but they have the skill sets to deal with family issues. We're far and few between.
You're gonna have to tell him to hear it, right?
Oh, no, trust me, now I will.
Yes.
I was with him last week. Phenomenal guy, right? Like, there's not enough people doing what we do that we're doing it altruistically. Don't get me wrong, we're business, but we're doing it for the right reasons and we have the right skill set. There are those that do it from an educational standpoint and they're phenomenal. Professor Randall Carlock at INSEAD, John Ward, who's coming to retirement, Rafi Amit at Wharton, right? There, Peter Leach in London, Ivan Landsberg here in New York. There are great people out there doing this. I'm not alone. I'm not arrogant about it. And there's a lot of families that need help. So we need more people like me.
Do you ever meet a family where you think to yourself, gosh, I'm not the right guy, but they'd really get along with Marco?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we've had those discussions that if I'm the wrong guy and he's the right guy and vice versa, that we'll help each other because it's about doing what's right for the family, not what's right for Samy. It's not about being, again, it's about showing humility. So yes, do I have concern how to continue to grow the business? Yes, I do, because again, there are certain elements easy to grow, other elements very hard to grow. So yes, it's definitely a concern. I've got only a certain amount of bandwidth. So the way that I've dealt with that is a couple of different ways. It's one, upping my cost because I charge by the hour like a consultant. And the other one is giving
That doesn't make you scalable. That makes you more profitable.
No, it makes me less available.
It makes your time more profitable. It doesn't allow you to take on more businesses, was my point.
No, my point is that people have to be willing to pay for the service. So it reduces the field of play.
Right.
Okay. That's what I mean. Not about profitability. The other one is giving people the right for retainers. Right. So, okay, if you say, I want a minimum of 10, 20 hours, and I've got a couple of clients where they want to make sure that they can call me.
Right.
One of my clients, very funny, he actually pays me upfront. He sends me a check. He says, when I run out, let me know because I want to know I have access.
Right.
Right. So yeah, look, there are genuine concerns.
And can you identify other people that you think have your skill set? You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I was talking to a woman who has become a very high profile teen psychologist in New York. And a friend of mine had gone to talk to her about seeing her child. And she said, look, my schedule's fully booked, but she's got a team of people under her that she's brought in that she charges less for.
Yeah.
But they work for her.
Yeah, like a law firm. Yeah.
Can you
Psychologists do the same. Again, I can refer, like I've mentioned a number of names. I'm happy to refer people to them. Remember, it also has to be a personality fit. I may be the wrong personality.
So that's why I said,
so
don't feel that,
I'm not concerned to go and say, hey, look, Ivan Landsberg is great. Randall Carlock is great. Marco Passi in London is great. I've got no problem with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I can't be everything to everyone. It's impossible. I'm realistic. And I think it's important to be realistic. I want to do what's right for a family. So if I'm the wrong guy, it's okay. I can be the wrong guy.
So in talking about doing what's right,
Yes.
you spend a lot of time doing good and doing right with your philanthropic work and community impact. Can you touch on that for us as we get to know you better?
Yeah, so I've had some interesting life experiences, which we won't get into. So I'm very much of the view of giving back. So since I set up my endeavor, I made sure I have time for me, right? Things that I want to do. So I sit on the board of a hospital. In fact, we had a board meeting yesterday, which I did over Zoom. Phenomenal hospital, non-for-profit hospital. The foundation is incredible. The staff is phenomenal. And the work we do in the region is amazing. We have a lot of private donors. The foundation raises in donations $60 million a year at least. We have mammo vans going into underserved areas where women who would not otherwise get access to having a mammogram get a free mammogram. That kind of stuff, very, very important to me. We're about to finish our proton therapy center. There's a $50 million plus spend. That'll open hopefully in the next couple of months. We can start helping people with brain cancer, very severe brain cancer and other types of tumors. Like that kind of stuff, that's very...
Speaks to you.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling, selfishly, but selfishly in a good way. I love sitting in the ER and just seeing people come in and seeing the difficulties nurses deal with. It's funny, and message to everyone, you ever go to an ER, it's not like going to the butcher where you pull a number. It's based on urgency. And everyone thinks, well, I came in before him. Yeah, but you've got, a cut on your finger and he's having a heart attack. Like people understand nurses go through a tough time. Seeing it through the eyes of my daughter now opens it up even more. But I've been seeing this for a long time. I've been on the board at least 5 years. Incredible place, very involved in their fundraising. We do amazing events to raise money. That's great. I love giving back. I love helping the underserved. I worked with 4 South Florida charities. I went up, I still do to a degree, go up to Tallahassee and I lobby for mental health. I raise money for those charities from the state to help underprivileged kids get access to mental health assistance. Very, very important to me. I take time out of my day. It's like I tell families, you don't need to earn as much. Money's less. Money comes and goes, right? But the impact we can have, and then the lesson we teach to others is so much more important.
And is this a place you spend time with your families, advising them on their charitable giving, or whether it's money or time or? So
what I try to do with every family, what I see as the glue for a family is philanthropy. What brings you together is that commonality of helping others. Knowing that you sit in a privileged position, and I use the word privilege not in the woke sense, but in a good sense, that you sit in a position where you can help others. So how do we build a foundation? What are the pillars? How do you determine the pillars? How do you have the discussions as a family? Where do you give? How do you do your due diligence on where you give? They have to do it. I'll give them the guidelines. I'll show them how to put it together, but they have to do the hard work, right? And it's funny, one of the families, I help them do all of that. And I come in to do the minutes and sit down and they're doing that annual giving. And I'm going, well, did you look at the 990s on these charities? What's a 990? I said, well, you go and it's public information. You can see how much everyone is paid, and of the money raised, how much goes to the underlying client. Are they efficient in their spending? And I didn't look at that. And then they started to look again. And 3 of the charities they had on the list, they took off and go, oh my God, 60 cents on the dollar is getting through. That's absurd.
And I think it's really interesting. And that's a way that families can work with the next gen in terms of understanding philanthropy. Somebody recently, a family member of mine, said, I'm going to give money in your daughter's honor on the occasion of her bat mitzvah. And I said, well, if you really want to do that, that's great, lovely. But I said, why don't you call her and have a conversation about what charity would be important to her to give that money to, but don't just ask her the name of a charity. Make her tell you why. I said, if you give it to something that was meaningful to you, and I donated X dollars in your name to a charity that teaches underprivileged kids how to read, you picked that.
Yeah.
Have her pick something, but then justify it.
Yeah, it's not meaningful to her. So there's a couple of things with kids with philanthropy. Don't just give them the ability to cut a check. because that's meaningless.
That was kind of my point.
Make them get involved first. So let them go do their due diligence. And when I say due diligence, go work in the charity, go help the underlying clients, go help feed them, work in a soup kitchen, like get dirty and do it, right? So not being being an immigrant here, I am American now. From the day we arrived in the US, Thanksgiving didn't mean anything to us because we never grew up with Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So what we do as a family every year, my kids still fly in to do this with us. We work with a charity where we come in 300 volunteers on Thanksgiving Day and we feed 800 people who have nowhere to go, don't have family, can't afford food, and we feed them. I carve the turkeys, my kids serve it. And we're literally, it's a massive, massive room of 800 people being fed. And that's our Thanksgiving, right? Which sounds weird, but we're not doing the turkey and everything. We're helping others. And that's become now like a family event for us. That brings us together.
Yeah,
but we're doing something else. Got to teach your kids the value of money. A lot of parents fail on teaching the value of money. People think that kids know they're wealthy. Kids don't know they're wealthy. They don't. They live in a big house. No. When you're surrounded with everyone with a big house and a big car, that's normal. That's normal. That's not abnormal. That's their norm. Okay? So they don't realize that they're in a privileged situation. This is normal. So what they think is normal and what really is normal are not normal. So we need to open their eyes to that. I was talking on a panel at a YPO conference for family offices, and there were these 3 principles, and guy goes, I bought my daughter a $3 million apartment. She never even questioned where the money came from. I go, yeah, because for her, that's normal.
Just expected.
It's expected. This is normal for us. Like, it's not a big deal. But for everyone else in the world, that's a big bloody deal. But if they don't know that, if you don't explain it to them, it's a privilege. You should be grateful. It's not expected. We need to teach them that. So I work with families on exercises to do, even with young kids. Send them to the supermarket with a list with cash.
If the supermarket still takes cash.
Which most do. But take them to the supermarket, let them go buy the list, wait for them outside, make sure, did they buy what you asked for, and do they have the right change? Do that a couple of times. Okay, here's the deal. About 8 or 9 times in, don't give them enough money. Make sure they don't have enough money. And watch how they react at the till. Do they get angry and storm off? How embarrassed do they get and frozen? How does the person at the till help them? What do they take off the list? Then when they come out, have the conversation. How does that make you feel? Why did you take that off the list?
I'm going to have to use this, Samy.
Use it. Why did you take it off the list? What was the determination? Now you understand how most families live. Understand that you don't have to think like that. They do.
Well, and that all ties into something, and we're going to wrap this up before we head into the lightning round. No, but I had somebody else on the podcast a week or so ago, and they said you have to go to know. Mm-hmm. And that's true about your point about going to charities, volunteering, going to countries, understanding what's there, or going into the supermarket and learning how to get the change at the till. You've got to go to know. Personal
experience. Took my son, big soccer fan. We went to the World Cup in South Africa. So what did I do? We went to Soweto. We went into the shantytown. We were the only guys there. We sat with the kids. It was life-changing to my son. We sat with 30 kids, and they turned to him, and a lot of them had their eyes were yellow from malnutrition, and they go, "You're so lucky you're going to school." He said, "Excuse me?" Yeah, if we don't get to school, we know we're dying in here. We're dying young. You go to school, that's our only form of escape. He went back home, and the way he did his homework after that, he was a changed person. Changed. Absolutely different. You've got to do things to impact your kids, right? That's our duty as a parent. And those are the kinds of things I do with families. So one family, they're not Hispanic, totally American. I sent them to Ecuador with a friend of mine who's a neurosurgeon, not surgeon, he's neurologist. And he has a portable MRI. He goes into the poor areas of Ecuador and helps kids and elderly with neurological issues. And they went and they volunteered. Couldn't speak a word of Spanish. Life-changing.
I'm sure.
Life-changing. And these are the things we have to do. excuse me, that's the kind of impact I want to have on people. That's what I've tried to do.
Well, and it certainly sounds like you put your money where your mouth is. And we are going to take a quick break and head into the lightning round. But this has been great, Samy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So welcome to the lightning round of today's Resilient Alpha episode with Samy Dwek of the Family Office Doctor. Quick answers, quick questions. You ready?
I'll try and be as quick as I can.
What's one book every family office leader should read?
Happy. There's a book called Happy. It's all about happiness. I am of the view that people should focus on happiness, not anything else.
What's the biggest lesson you learned from your time at JP Morgan?
That's a really hard one. The biggest lesson, humility.
Miami or Dubai, which has the best edge for family offices?
Oh, that's hard. They bring different positives. It really is dependent on the family. It's an unfair question.
One trend in wealth management that you think is overhyped?
AI.
Why?
I think everyone's chasing it, but they don't know how to execute on it. And so if you just throw money at it, hoping you've hit the right thing, you're probably going to miss.
What's the most exciting opportunity you see today in the MENA region?
In the MENA region?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think there's so much infrastructure opportunity. Infrastructure, not in the UAE, but you look at probably GCC area, there's a real need for good infrastructure.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Michelangelo.
Why?
What a visionary. I mean, think about it. The father of medicine. He was the first person to dissect the body, started medicine in the University of Bologna. I went to University of Bologna, by the way. And then look at his inventions. He was so ahead of his time. The helicopter, the plane, like years before they were ever created. This guy was the Steve Jobs of his time, like way ahead of himself.
One piece of advice you'd give your younger self heading into finance?
Heading into finance or just career generally?
Any way you'd like to answer.
Don't be in a rush. And I remember being as a younger self, I want to be a senior person because then I'll have more time. Like, no, baloney. The more senior you get, the less time you have.
What's the most unexpected challenge you faced in the family office space?
Unexpected challenge, dealing with mental health issues, which I was not as prepared as I thought I was.
One word to describe the future of family offices.
Communication.
What's your go-to way to unwind after a long day at the office?
Two different things. I play soccer with people less than half my age and volunteering.
Where do you see your business? Where's the family office doctor when we bring you back in 10 years?
Can't tell you. I live every day as it goes. I try not to plan too much because I think, man plans, God smiles.
If you couldn't do what you're doing, what would you be doing? Somebody said, can't advise families anymore. You got to pick something else. What would it be?
So when I was in university, I wanted to go into ladies' fashion. So who knows?
What's one legacy you hope to leave in the family office world?
I want to teach people to communicate better.
Samy, this has really been great. We appreciate your time and being here. And we hope you all enjoy this episode of Resilient Alpha.
Thank you.